Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into why so much corporate training just falls flat. And more importantly, we're going to look at the actual blueprints that instructional designers use to build training that really works. We're talking about two classic models that can take a snooze fest lecture and turn it into something that actually sticks.
So let's just start with a question we've all asked ourselves, right? After sitting through some long, uninspired session, why does so much of this stuff feel like a total waste of time? Is it the material? Is it the person up front? Or, is the problem actually buried way deeper in how it was designed in the first place?
And here's the core of the issue. It's a major design flaw. Most training, it just stops at the most basic levels of learning. It throws information at you, but it never really asks you to do anything with it. It's like someone handing you a pile of bricks, giving you a textbook on architecture, and then just walking away, never showing you how to actually build the wall. To fix that, you need a better blueprint. And luckily, people who design learning for a living have been perfecting these for a long, long time. And that's where two classic, really time-tested models come into play. They give you the structure you need to build something that's gonna last. And here they are. You've got Bloom's taxonomy on one side, which is all about the goals, what you want people to learn. And on the other side, you have the ADDIE model, which is the step-by-step process for how you build the training itself. Just think of it as the what and the how of making learning effective. All right, let's dig into Bloom's taxonomy first. The main idea here is super simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Learning isn't just one thing, it's a progression. Bloom's gives us this fantastic framework to define exactly what level of thinking we're aiming for, from just, memorizing facts all the way up to creating something totally new. And here are those 6 levels. Think of it like a ladder. You have to start at the bottom with remembering and understanding. Those are the foundations, but the whole point is to keep climbing higher to get people applying information, analyzing it, evaluating it, and at the very top, creating something with it. You can't just create a new marketing plan if you can't even analyze the data or understand the basic principles first, right? Okay, so if Bloom's tells us what we're trying to achieve, what rung of the ladder we're aiming for, the ADDIE model tells us how to build it. It's this really systematic, reliable process that makes sure you don't miss any crucial steps when you're putting a training program together from the ground up. So these are the 5 phases: analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Now, I know it looks like a straight line here, but the real power of ADD is that it's actually a cycle. The evaluation you do for one program feeds right back into the analysis for the next one. It creates this amazing loop of continuous improvement. So this is where it all clicks together. The really crucial point is how these two models perfectly complement each other. They're not competing ideas at all. They're basically two halves of the same whole. Let's take a look at exactly how they fit together. And here's the breakdown. Super simple. Bloom's gives you the what, that specific level of thinking you want your learners to hit. You use this during the design phase of ADDIE to write really clear learning objectives. And meanwhile, ADDIE gives you the how, that big picture process that guides the whole project, from the very first idea all the way to the final evaluation. Okay, I know this can all feel a little bit abstract, so let's make it real. Let's imagine we're designing a training program on process improvement. We're going to see how a really well-designed program climbs that Bloom's ladder one step at a time. So, we start right at the bottom of the pyramid. Because look, before you can improve a process, you have to speak the language. So first, participants just learn to recall and explain the core ideas. What exactly is waste? What counts as an error? What does a delay actually look like in our workflow? And now we climb up a rung. This is where knowledge starts to become action. See, it's not enough to just define what a bottleneck is. Now the learners have to take a real-world process from their own company and apply that knowledge by mapping it out to find the actual bottlenecks. That is a huge leap from just memorizing a definition. Okay, next up is analysis. Once they've found the bottlenecks, they have to dig deeper. They start dissecting the problem to figure out the relationships between different parts. Why is this delay happening here? Is it connected to an error that's happening way earlier in the process? They're finding the root causes now, not just looking at the symptoms. At this level, learners are really making judgments. They might have a couple of proposed solutions on the table, so now they have to evaluate the data and decide which one of these ideas is actually going to work. Is this change really going to improve efficiency? Is it going to add value for the customer, or does it just push the problem somewhere else? This takes some serious critical thinking. And finally, we hit the top of the ladder,
creating. Based on everything they have now learned, applied, analyzed, and evaluated, the participants actually design something brand new. In this case, it's a new information system that actually solves the delay they found earlier. See? They haven't just learned about process improvement, they've actually done it.
So the big question is, how do we design programs that can actually help people climb this ladder? Well, the key isn't just about having good content. It's about making a shift from passive listening to active engagement.
And the lesson here really couldn't be clearer. If you want people to really learn something, you can't just talk at them for hours on end. Passive learning only leads to passive knowledge. Real skill building, the kind of learning that actually moves people up Bloom's ladder, it requires them to actively participate. So instead of that one-way lecture, you've got to bring in activities like these. Things like workshops, role-playing, hands-on exercises. These aren't just fun little add-ons. They are the essential tools you have to use to target those higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. You simply can't get to the applying or creating levels without them.
And I love this quote because it really gets at the need for flexibility. A really great trainer has to be willing to let go of their rigid schedule to let real discussion happen. I mean, the people in that room have their own experience, and tapping into that collective knowledge is so much more valuable than just sticking to a script. It might feel less safe for the trainer, for sure, but it's absolutely vital for the learners.
And finally, let's talk about validating all this high-level learning. That is where certification comes in. And while internal certifications are good, using an external, accredited one can be a real game changer. Not only does it give people an industry-recognized credential they can take with them, but it also frees up your trainer to focus less on building content from scratch and more on what really matters, facilitating all those interactive activities that push learners up the pyramid.
So, after breaking down these models and seeing how they work, what's the single most important thing to take away from all this?
It all comes down to this critical warning right here. If your training gets stuck at the bottom of the pyramid, it's really not much more than a knowledge dump. Yeah, it might check a box on a form somewhere, but it doesn't build skills, and it definitely doesn't change behavior. Real, transformational learning, that happens when you challenge people to apply, to analyze, and to create. And that leaves us with one last question, something to think about for any learning experience you design or even just attend. The next time you're in a training session, ask yourself, where are we on Bloom's ladder right now? Are we just memorizing facts, or are we actually building something new? Because that answer, well, it makes all the difference. Thanks for watching.